This episode is sponsored by SmartVestor. Connect with an investing pro for free at RamseySolutions.com/invest. You're listening to Ramsey Everyday Millionaires, where we talk investing, retirement, building wealth, and outrageous generosity.
Carlos is with us in San Antonio, Texas. Hi, Carlos. How are you?
Hi, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
Sure. What's up?
Well, I live abroad. I live and work abroad. I'm finally back in the U.S. after about 4 years. I was stuck because of COVID. So about a year and a half ago, I sold my house while I was abroad, and I wanted to now finally use the money and invest and make it work for me. Now I've been back in the U.S. for about 2 years. I have a meeting with a friend who's a banker. We're going to talk about possible investments. But I have a friend who bought a piece of property in Thailand for about $30,000 in cash. And I was thinking about doing the same thing. So I might actually be in Thailand in about the next 3 weeks or so to take a look at some things. It's just the first time I've had quite a chunk of change in the bank with and being debt free. So I was looking to do something with that.
What is the size of the chunk of change?
In the bank, I have about $290,000.
Okay. And what do you make a year?
I would say about $80,000, but I pretty much live for free. Not for free, but it's the cost of living is very low.
I got you. Yeah. I would not buy that.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. Because there's a bazillion $30,000 investments to do in the United States. And the Thai economy is excellent. It is a fairly stable situation, but there is not any, close to any country in the world that is as stable and predictable an environment as the United States. And when I buy investments, I want stable and predictable. And the thing that we forget as Americans is that, ever so often some of these countries just blow up. And I'm not predicting Thailand's going to blow up. That is not what I said, okay? But we're just not used to the volatility of government, the volatility of things. And for you have to have a predictable environment for economics to work. That's why law and order versus the opposite of order is chaos. And so when you have chaos, you do not have a predictable environment, and business and merchants and transactions cannot occur predictably. That's why the inner city in some of these wonderful American cities have just been destroyed because they've lost order. They've turned to chaos. And that's a miniature version of it happening to an entire country. So I would instead have my money stateside than doing your very first investment, and 10% or 20% of your whole net worth is going to be in a less predictable environment. That's a kind, easy way of saying it. So you can do it if you want to, but I wouldn't. That's my reasoning.
I wouldn't do it. No.
You and I have both traveled all over the world.
Yes.
And it's easy to, when you're traveling, it's also easy as an American to say, okay, everywhere operates the same way, and it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. And you kind of get enamored with these places. It's like, this would be so nice. And you're seeing...
beautiful.
It's beautiful, exactly. I just think that with real estate especially, it sounds like he's a guy that hops around. He likes to travel. It just feels like not the move. I'm with you. I would invest stateside. It's an environment that you probably know a little bit more about. Not to mention his buddy, the banker, gave him the advice, which...
No, he was meeting with him later about it.
Meeting with the banker. Okay, because I was like, I don't know if I let my banker tell me to invest in Thailand.
I'm not going to let my buddy, my banker, tell me anything about investments.
Okay.
Bankers are where you deposit money, not where you go for investment advice.
That's right.
So anyway, so that's the second part of the equation. You didn't ask, Carlos, but I would go to an actual professional broker that gives people advice, not a banker. Mm-hmm. There's a difference. There's a substantial difference, but the way their brains work. So, yeah, if you want to find out who we recommend for that, just click on SmartVestor at Ramsey Solutions, and you'll find someone that is a professional that knows what they're doing, that it does investing for a living and works with giving advice for a living and that kind. And that's who I have in my corner, and Jade has in her corner. Yeah. So that's the second part of unsolicited advice here. So.
Well, he was on the right track wanting to pay cash.
But yeah, he is. And that does parlay. I mean, I'll continue that conversation. I was thinking about this the other day. One of my buddies is all torqued out about all the anarchy stuff and all the protests and people burning stuff down. And he's going nuts. His brain's, he's spending way too much of his calories on it because it hasn't got anything to do with him really. But I was trying to explain to him, it's not the weird thing about anarchy is if it works, you burn everything to the ground and there's nothing left. That's the purpose of anarchy, is chaos to destroy every known existing institution, okay? And so when you do that, 100% of the time, what happens after that? Another group of institutions rise up.
And they start ruling.
And the anarchists are now in charge of that, which is the actual paradox of anarchy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and the problem with all of that idea is that in the process of doing that, you destroy, what's happening on a miniature level, as I said, where you do not have a predictable environment of order versus chaos. You cannot do business. So, in other words, let's just put it into basic terms. Little couple has saved up money. They got $40,000 and they want to open an ice cream shop. Okay. They are not, if they have wisdom, going to open an ice cream shop in an area that regularly kicks in the windows and steals everything because they're putting their stuff at risk. Right. And so if you want to make sure that your area has absolutely no business investment, which leads to prosperity because it leads to employment. If you want to make sure your area has that, then just remove order and insert chaos because you will guarantee the failure of prosperity in the area because it's a natural thing for people to say, I'm not going to open my ice cream shop where people are going to burn it.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's silly, and some of these cities, the inner cities are not coming back after these riots. They're just sitting down there boarded up. And that's why, because people lost the belief that there was order. Instead, they have a belief that there's chaos. So when someone says law and order, sometimes people think, oh, well, that means the police are just kicking people and hitting people. And that isn't what it means at all. Law and order means that there's a law and order is kept as opposed to chaos. And that's not a racial decision. That's not a defund the police decision. It's none of those things at all. It's simple that you cannot have economic prosperity in areas where you do not have a predictable environment. And so you've got to, and the same thing happens in your personal life. You have to create a predictable environment. So if all you and your wife, your husband do is fight all the time, very seldom are you going to prosper because you're in the middle of chaos all the time and you don't have a predictable environment. So it's very difficult to invest in, believe in, and pour your life into something called a future. Because all you're doing, you're burning all your calories dealing with the toxic mess that is in your house. And so it can be in your house, it can be in your town, it can be in your country, but order is essential to prosperity. And that's what I was trying to explain to my buddy who's drunk the Kool-Aid of some right-wing crazy butt stuff. But, it's a very simple thing, and it's not a mean thing, and it's not really even a moral judgment. It's not a, what do we do about it? Yeah, what do you do about? But you got to have order. And if you don't have order, then you're not, by definition, ultimately going to have prosperity.
I hear what you're saying, Dave.
It has to be a predictable environment. And so that's the thing. And investments, business investments, where jobs come from, you're not going to have, the little couple's not going to open their ice cream store. And that just tells you what's happening. And so that's what's weird is if you burn your own neighborhood down, that's what you're doing to yourself. It is not just it's just so illogical. I don't get it.
Thanks for tuning in to Ramsey Everyday Millionaires. To learn more about how to plan for retirement, visit RamseySolutions.com/retire or click the link in the show notes. Ramsey Solutions is a paid non-client promoter of participating pros. Learn more at RamseySolutions.com/SmartVestor.